Thanks to the likes of Random Gaming in HD and Budget Builds Official, I've been inspired to pursue my own budget PC shenanigans. I wish I got onto this much sooner. This is my take. This is an Intel Celeron G440, and yeah, it was probably used as a door wedge. It's a single core clocked at 1.6 GHz, and the only upsides are its low TDP of 35 watts and by the fact that it's a Sandy Bridge unit. More on that bit later. Oh, and some of the underside capacitor resistor things were missing, but that did little harm as it, well, worked. I bought this for £3. And our GPU is an NVIDIA GeForce GT 210, best known for being a display adapter more than anything else these days. We have the 1GB palette version with a core clock of 589 MHz, memory clock of 500 MHz, and 16 shading units. I bought this for £6.50 including delivery, much more than what I think it's worth. At least it has an HDMI port. We'll be installing these on a Dell motherboard alongside 4GB of DDR3, 1333 MHz of RAM, and a 250W PSU. Because, truthfully, it's not like we'll be reaching even half of that. And we'll be using Windows 8 since 10 is way too heavy even for daily use, and I wanted to give it the best chance. Windows 8 can be a light OS, note the word can, but nevertheless feel free to rail at me in the comment section. Let's get to some games. First, GTA San Andreas. With low settings at 720p without anti-aliasing, it yields us 51 FPS average, with 1% lows of 33 FPS and 0.1% lows of 22. Overall, a smooth experience at a graphical level that reminds me of my childhood days playing this game. Well, except the part where I got drenched by a fire truck in the middle of a flaming street. Those particles tanked our results. But otherwise, it's pretty smooth. Now, I was expecting CSGO to run at least decently on this, a potato, but no. With an average of 15 FPS with heavy stuttering shown by the 1% and 0.1% lows of 0, at 480p mind you, it's no, not even with much going on. It also doesn't help the fact that I've only spent around 10 minutes playing this game, so yeah. Skyrim is alright. Here at the lower settings with no anti-aliasing at 720p, we're running an average of 24 FPS, 1% lows of 7, and 0.1% lows of 5, dropping down to 1 during load screens and such. But I found the short drawing distance to be a bigger issue. You can increase that, though it might creep towards PS3 performance. Still, it isn't too bad. Just to show what it can run beautifully, we have Red Alert Online at 1080p, well above 60 FPS average. Hours of Soviet tank rush fun for only a tenner. Me 10 years ago would have been blown away. With Minecraft, it's a mixed bag. We can easily achieve 35 to 45 FPS average, though we're plagued by frequent and rather heavy stuttering. Not even tweaking the resolution, render chunks or fancy graphics helped. It might be okay for you, it gave me a headache. Also, this is Bedrock Edition on Windows 10, meaning good luck trying to get on multiplayer with this setup. The Xbox signing thing really chokes up the system, like it won't even recognize the power button until a few minutes later. At least Windows 10 is free nowadays. And finally, Roblox. Why? Because our system even struggles to play it, and it's not just the GT 210's fault. I'll showcase 3 games at different complexity. On one of those asset flip, escape, insert name here, obbies, it runs well at 720p on a graphic setting of 5 out of 10 at 41 FPS average with 1% and 0.1% lows of 12 and 10 respectively. It only gets worse from here. With Adopt Me at 720p on a graphics level of 1 out of 10, we get an average of 22 FPS with 1% and 0.1% lows of 5 and 4. Not bad until we get to busier parts where we're hitting as low as 11 FPS average. And did I mention about the severe input lag? The Stadia experience for 1/10 the cost. Let's get to the most complex game I found, Black Hawk Rescue Mission 5, where despite lowest possible settings at 480p, it dips below 10 FPS in built up areas like the base, though we can reach the mid-20s in sparse locations, so at around 15 FPS average. So I have no hope of marking this off as playable, even if the input lag isn't there, which I might note, it still is. Parents, if you're looking at this CPU for your child's desktop, please spend an extra £3 for something nicer. Let's use some benchmarks. Cinebench R20 gave out a score of 96 points, after 50 minutes mind you, nowhere near in the league of the i5 5300U in the rankings table. But user benchmark is interesting. It's between a Treejong and a surfboard. Unsurprising, but our RAM was deemed to be performing poorly, and I found out that it may be because the Celeron has underclocked it to 1066 MHz instead of 1333. Oh well, it's an easy solution. How about daily use? YouTube videos aren't so good. You can only go up to 480p for a smooth playback, since 720p at 60 FPS is just unplayable. However, general browsing is fairly pleasant, if a bit slow, but I didn't mind. Being able to go about my email shenanigans for a tenner is a win in my book, and in full HD as well. Let's talk about an upgrade path for this build. If you have the Celeron, consider yourself fortunate, for you have an 1155 socket motherboard. The only way here is up, let's be frank. If you're on a remarkably tight budget, consider a Pentium G860. Admittedly, I got this for much less than a Celeron. Or for £7, an i3 2120. A quad-core i5 2400 or a 2500 isn't too much at around £20, so for a fat meal at Mackey's, we can significantly improve this build. For our GPU, well, almost anything is better, even the mentioned i3's integrated graphics. For them newer titles like Fortnite, I'd get a card that supports up to DirectX 12, because it couldn't run in our GT210. Not that we'd want to. Maybe get a card from 2012 or later, like a GeForce 600 series or a Radeon R5 200 series onwards. You'll definitely see these cards in future videos. So do I recommend getting the Celeron and a GT210? Absolutely not. If you want to have a bit of fun, which I certainly had, then by all means. But if you're looking for budget PC parts, there comes a point in low-end hardware where the price is too high for the performance they give. I think we've hit that with these two. Thanks for watching. See you soon.